What's up, guys? Welcome back. Sorry about that 30-second intro. We've been off for 3 weeks. I had no idea the music changed on that. So
I love it. I was jamming.
yeah, I saw it. Kind of threw me off a little bit. Actually, it started playing, and I was like, "Oh, I think I hit the wrong one. I must have." No, it was right. It just changed. I didn't. I don't know. 3 weeks will do a lot. I think it's been 2 weeks since we talked. So yeah. Speaking of a lot that's changed, for one, how are you doing before we get into anything?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been pretty busy. Wasn't able to come on last week. I'm a pastor, so start of Lent is always a very busy time of year, but not as seemingly busy as NFL free agency. So
Yeah.
we have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, hardly anything. I think the biggest one, we kind of do this. What do you want to get to first, Honor? You tell me.
I mean, might as well go down the rundown. So
Okay.
uh we'll start by no. I think let's talk about DK and Geno. Let's talk about how we got to Sam Darnold first before we talk about
Okay.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Well, let's shout out Tyler Lockett. Great career as a Seahawk. Uh, DK couldn't let him have his day because about 20 minutes after we announced that Tyler Lockett's gone, DK demands a trade. So pretty diva-ish on his part. Um, I was kind of irritated with the whole thing. Even if you do demand a trade, keep it in house, right? And so we can kind of maximize. And I realize the agents will tell the teams and everything, but it's just not a good look demanding a trade out. I don't know. You tell me what you think of. We'll start with DK because that's the first domino that fell.
Yeah, I feel like, all the things that we've talked about with DK Metcalf in terms of like temperate mannerisms sort of came out in this whole thing, right? There's multiple ways you can go about asking for a trade, and how he went about it didn't surprise me. Um and then furthermore, how he he asked to go a warm weather climate, a contender, a
So I
stable.
didn't. I didn't hear
Uh,
any of that. I didn't really
yeah,
see any of that when everybody else. I guess I caught on after the trade. People are like, he said he wanted to go warm weather. I didn't even hear
yeah,
that.
yeah. So like Schefter and others were on. It wasn't like posted on X. You had to be like watching NFL Network and stuff like that to get that info. But and then to have a more like stable quarterback situation, which like if like I'm him, I'm pretty upset. I mean, I live in Pennsylvania. It gets cold, very, very cold here, and like way colder than it does in Seattle. And
I'd
like,
I that the quarterback situation is worse than the weather in
I
Pennsylvania
know,
right now.
I know, and like not a contender, not a decent quarterback room. Weather's terrible. Like you just sent him. You might as well have just sent him to the Raiders and called it a day. So
No, I
go
think
play with Geno.
personally, not to cut you off, but I think the Steelers are almost like looking in the mirror of the Seahawks. Really, just
Oh,
where the franchises have been since 2015. Really, since we lost the Super Bowl against the Patriots, these franchises have kind of been mirrored with each other to where you're good enough to make the playoffs, you're good enough to win a wild card game, but you're not good enough to make it to the AFC Championship or NFC Championship game for the Seahawks. Um, I think it's kind of just going to the same exact situation you were already in. The difference is they paid you $30 million a year for 5 years, and we didn't. I think, let's be honest, I think that's the reason he left.
yeah, I agree. And like I've been saying that to my Steeler friends for years. I'm like, you guys understand, like, as much as you dog on me for being a Seahawks fan, like you are the East Coast Seattle Seahawks. Like
Really?
tried and true. Oh yeah, for
Mhm.
years. And like how they, even to like how they win games and like pulling rabbits out of hats and relying on high-end talent to bail them out in spite of their obvious deficiencies. Like
And having
they,
a head coach for a long time that did a great job at the beginning and then
yeah,
a mediocre job towards the middle and the end.
yeah, and like when Russ became their quarterback, I'm like, you have to see it now. Like you are the East Coast Seahawks, and
Yeah.
it was really funny. But yeah, I've been saying that for years how very similar they are, and I also find the acquisition of DK by Pittsburgh pretty odd. I feel like him and Pickens have a very similar skill set, so they're I don't know. There might be. What do you do if you're Pittsburgh? Do you get rid of Pickens, or do you try to make it work, or I don't know.
I'm
And
almost surprised it wasn't DK for Pickens. When I kind of saw they were trading it to Pittsburgh, I was like, "Oh, did we just switch number 14s?" I know that Pickens has an anger problem as well.
oh yeah,
Just like DK. Want to give a shout out Brian Culp. Used to do shows with him all the time. He's got a pretty busy schedule now, so just want to give you a shout out before you have to leave because I know you're pretty busy. But yeah, DK and Pickens, you already see all the memes of some random cornerback 10 yards down the field, DK and Pickens coming at you, and it's just two guys beating the crap out of one guy, right? So we play the Steelers this year. That was another thing I totally didn't realize. Too bad it's there, but yeah.
yeah. I feel like with the acquisition, yeah, like it's so hard because Pittsburgh doesn't have a quarterback, so you don't really know like how they're really going to handle what's going on, and they'll probably all be fixed tomorrow. We'll see, but
I think it's Rodgers, dude.
I think so too, which is wild. But I just feel like it'll come down to, does Aaron Rodgers want both of them? Because everywhere Aaron Rodgers has ever went, he's always been kind of like the bull in the china shop and has made those decisions. And so we'll see. But you're definitely keeping DK because you paid him a lot of money to be there. So we'll see what happens to Pickens.
I heard just on the radio today, not like me with my 175 subscribers on YouTube, big time in you there. Heard some inside information that Rodgers was the guy if it wasn't Darnold. And I would have laughed. So I was so rooting for this to happen just because it would have been the funniest shit that I've seen the Seahawks do in forever. I thought it would have been awesome if they signed Aaron Rodgers because I think he sucks now. I think he can't move. I think the media storm around would just be hilarious. I think him talking on the Pat McAfee show every week would be hilarious. I was totally rooting for it.
No. So out of all the situations that could befall this team, and we'll talk about soon, what actually happened, but out of all the situations, I would not have watched Seahawks football this year if Aaron Rodgers was our quarterback. It just, I do not like him, and I think he, like he said, he's a diva, and there's a media circus around him, and I just don't think that's how our franchise should be run. So I'm very thankful that we dodged that bullet, and now we're looking elsewhere.
Would have been a 1-year thing, man. It would have been hilarious. It would have been.
Off of watching football.
I just, you know what? That's the thing is I hate Aaron Rodgers. I don't hate Aaron Rodgers. I don't like Aaron Rodgers either. And then I watched his documentary on Netflix and I was like, fuck. Like, I'm trying to do everything I can to continue not liking Aaron Rodgers. But when they put a documentary just pumping Aaron Rodgers up and I watch it, I'm like, man, I don't want to watch this. But then I watch it and I'm like, Aaron Rodgers is kind of cool. But then I see him get interviewed. And yeah, I don't know. He's just kind of a pompous prick.
Yeah. Well, Culp says he disagrees. He hopes the 49ers sign him up. So, I mean, if you want to sign a statue in the backfield, then go ahead. So
he'd probably be great for a team that has like an amazing offensive line,
mhm.
because I think realistically, I think his head's still there, obviously. But I just don't think his lower body is not there anymore at all.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those, Peyton Manning situations, probably not 2015 where he was really bad, but 2014. So the year after the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, to where like he was definitely breaking down, but his head was still there. So he was still doing decent. I don't know if that made sense.
So not only is DK gone, but so is Geno Smith as he gets reunited with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas. And then sounds like Seattle offered him a competitive deal and he walked away. And now we have to digest a Seattle reunion in Vegas.
I'm rooting for him, dude, so hard.
Same.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm rooting. It's not like when Russ left. When Russ left, it was like we said, media circus. It was like just 2 years of like, hey, trade me. And then, oh no, I totally want to be here. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
Right. No, we fired Pete. I get that. I guess Geno said he demanded a trade, but I mean, it's not, I don't know. I'm totally rooting for the Raiders, dude.
Me too. And it'll be cool. I think they're probably the front runners to go and get Tyler Lockett. So we'll see.
And they're the fourth. Honestly, they're the fourth best team in the AFC West. If you look at between the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs, the Raiders are definitely down there at the bottom. So it's not like we're rooting for. They're not a favorite or anything. We're kind of rooting for the underdog still. I mean, I don't know. I'm totally rooting for Geno. I'm actually sad we let him go because what we got in return coming up next. Well, I guess what we got in return was a 3rd-round pick and Sam Darnold. And I think we've talked about this before. I don't think Darnold's really an upgrade from Geno.
No. No. It's here we are at this part of the show, but I cannot stand what this organization is doing. It is fraudulent what they are deciding to do, because John Schneider at this point is like, I'm just gonna make sure that our quarterback's younger, a little bit cheaper, and maybe we'll go out and get some low-end linemen with some high ceilings that haven't proved anything in the NFL. And meanwhile, you made all of these changes to get the 7th most cap in the NFL. After the Darnold signing, you had the same amount of cap as the Minnesota Vikings. And here comes the Vikings, and they're signing people, and they're making moves on their offensive line. And I'm looking at teams like the Bears and the Colts, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you have money to burn. Like, this is the problem that you needed. Like, I'm going to try really hard not to rant on this live stream. It's going to be hard. You had one problem that all the fans looked at this team and was like, you can't run, you can't throw. You have to fix this offensive line. And at the end of the day, that's the problem you need to fix. Okay, well, what has John Schneider done this offseason? Well, since then, he's created a need for wide receiver, a need for quarterback, which he's fixed, which is not an upgrade from the quarterback that he had before. And you still have the problem of offensive line. Like, what is this team doing? They are like a boat without a sail and hoping that they get back to shore. And like, I understand. Like, I completely understand if you get rid of all these people, you build up all this cap space, and you go all in on a rebuild. but then signing Sam Darnold and still getting on every podcast you possibly can and saying, we're going to go out here and we're going to try to be competitive. What, like, we want to field a team. This is a quote. We want to field a team that the fans are excited about to buy season tickets and to come here expecting wins. All the fans know what the problem is, and you have done nothing to fix it. Historically, this franchise has done nothing to fix it.
Yeah,
and this is
this
is the year. Like, you got to do something, anything, and they haven't. And it's negligence. And I'm sorry, but like the draft, like what are we gonna do? Amass all these picks in draft and then draft 2 wide receivers and the rest offensive linemen and call it a day and be like, well, yep, we've done it. And one of these guys are bound to stick. Like, you don't create this much cap space and then not do anything with it if you want to be competitive. Like, it's either sell out, go way below the cap, go all out rebuild, start with a fresh young core, and then admit that you're doing that, or get rid of these guys, do a soft rebuild, and spend in free agency, which you're not doing. So, oh my goodness, this team in the last 72 hours has been infuriating as a fan to watch. So there you go. That's my rant. I get one a show, and we've done it. So
hopefully
that's my take.
Hopefully too. Here's what I'll counter. Here is where I will counter that. Sorry. The Seahawks, for one, have never been one to get those high-end free agents. And I think I wasn't really surprised about the biggest surprise to me was signing Sam Darnold, to be completely honest. I thought they were going to kind of get like Justin Fields, maybe somebody a little cheaper. This team has never been one. I mean, who's the last splash free agent signing we've had? TJ Houshmandzadeh. Honestly,
Matt Flynn.
Yeah, Matt Flynn. Sorry, and I did get a trade. Somebody in my dynasty fantasy league offered me Sam Darnold for DK Metcalf because he knows I'm a total homer, and I said I'm trading for Matt Flynn 2.0. That's kind of what we're hoping for here. I've talked about this. That is kind of what we're hoping for here is Matt Flynn 2.0. Say they draft a quarterback in the mid rounds and he just takes over. But I mean, parallel, I think our defense is pretty decent. And I think we saw that towards the second half of the season. If they want to go out and build an amazing defense and try to have basically Trent Dilfer win you the Super Bowl, I wouldn't totally hate that. Would you?
No, but the problem is that you have a quarterback who in the best season that he has ever had has shown you one clear thing. He is pressure sensitive, and that's his weakness. And it's by far and away his biggest weakness. This is the team that was on the board for him that would create more problems. And he goes here. Okay, well, if you are serious about having Trent Dilfer take you to the Super Bowl, try to mitigate that weakness. And they're not. And like we're probably gonna get like linemen out of Fordman and say, oh, well, I like his personality and he's got nice raw talent and I know he plays tackle, but we're going to make him play guard and blah, 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 blah. And this is ridiculous. Like, this has not worked. You need to approach free agency with some seriousness if this is your vision to rebuild. And Schneider has to know, like, the fan base is looking real hard at him going, hey, you had one problem. Now you've made 3. You fixed the one with Sam Darnold, theoretically. But now you really need to fix the problem. Because at least with Geno, you could mitigate your offensive line woes, right? He's even at 34, way more mobile, way more able to make something out of nothing. Darnold is not that quarterback. And I understand if Kubiak wants to take this offense in a different direction, maybe schematically tries to scheme out of those situations, but you're not going to do that all the time. So we've said it before. You can't get 3 offensive linemen in free agency. It's just not realistic, which is what Seattle needs, 3
The
interior
Bears,
linemen.
I think the
Well,
Bears have kind of done it.
well, the Bears have been 3-time reigning offseason champions. So more power to them. But we've been pretty realistic, I think, on this show with how to rebuild an offensive line. Like, you can get 1 or 2 in free agency and then get your other 1 or 2 in the draft and, draft quality players and call it a day. And I think we will be patient with the rookies that come in. That's fine. But this whole thing of like, we're going to sign backups to backups, and then in the draft, we're going to draft people who've never played these positions before, and we just like their builds for what we're running, which is historically what this team has done. I'm so tired of it. And now you have a quarterback that cannot mitigate that flaw. So
do you think John's kind of regretting getting Pete fired? Because the fan base is coming after him so much harder. It was all on Pete before, the fan base wise. Oh, Pete this, Pete that. Now it's the blame is seriously shifted.
So yes, I think in that regard, probably he regrets it, right? Because there was like a shield in front of him to protect him from all that criticism. But I do think there is something in John that, like, he wants this team to look like the team, whatever that looks like, that he envisions out there on the football field.
Which is Sam Darnold at quarterback, no center, no guards, and half a tackle. 1.5 tackles.
And like, you can see that vision through the defense. I mean, you hired a defensive-minded head coach, very aggressive in how he manages his players. Like, if you don't perform, if you don't fit the scheme, you're out of here.
We figured that out early.
Yeah, and like, honestly, this team needed that, and they have benefited from that on that side of the ball. But you got to score points, and your defense isn't going to score you as many points as you need to win games in the NFL. So I feel like he has to really, really be a home run hitter in this free agency class, and he just hasn't been. And I'm okay if you go out and get a guy like Fries or Freeze or however he pronounces his last name, lineman now for the Colts, and he flops, and we can at least look at that and go, he was a high upside lineman. You tried. I want to just see him try to go out there and acquire talent, and if they fail, then they fail. But
so what's crazy is they signed Jonah Jackson, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's the offensive lineman that got ejected when he accidentally punched the ref because he thought he was hitting Jordan Brooks. And I have not, you can fact check me on that. I have no idea if that was him, but I am like 90% sure that's all I remember about that guy. Am I right? Is it him? Should we look that up?
I think so.
Sorry. Also, we got a Steelers fan in here. What's up, Chad? And guys, if you're not subscribed, make sure to scroll all the way to the top of the comments, and there is Zach's channel. He does a lot of Seahawks content.
Who? I forget. Who am I looking for? Josh Jones? Is that who I'm looking for?
Yeah, I accidentally said Jonah Jackson.
Yeah.
Maybe not him. Cardinals player ejected, Seahawks.
Oh, no. Jones played for the Ravens.
But he played for the Cardinals before, I think, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's right. I did see that graphic.
DJ Humphries got ejected. My bad.
Oh,
I don't know why. I heard that name and I was like, oh, that sounds familiar. I think that's the guy that got ejected. It wasn't. So my bad. Spreading misinformation. Yeah, my fault.
yeah.
But
So it's.
Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Another thing I was kind of wondering about. I realized kind of the defense. Everybody. We re-signed Ernest Jones. I think we've had I guess 3 free agent signings because Jaron Reed's back. My question is, do you think Mike McDonald's possibly an asshole? Do you think? I mean, I'm serious because it seems like.
Oh man.
Sorry, I'm 100% being real. I mean, because Pete, how many players demanded trades?
Yeah, and like, I think he is in terms of if you compare McDonald to Pete Carroll, right? Pete Carroll is like the benchmark of players coach, and if you played under Pete, which these players who have demanded trades have,
yeah,
you've been coddled for, in terms of DK Metcalf, your entire NFL career. And like, we wanted this change in terms of player accountability and making sure that players are doing their job. And like, I don't think he's like a Bill Belichick where like you really gotta love winning championships if you want to go to New England and play back in the day. Like, people didn't go to New England to play for hard-nosed Bill Belichick. Like, you went
to win.
Understood. Yeah, you went to win, and
which is fine. I'm actually fine with that, to be honest. That's why I always like Bill Belichick.
Yeah, and like, I think if you compare the two, McDonald is like the complete antithesis of Pete Carroll. But in the grand scheme of the NFL, I think he's just like an average dude who loves ball, who wants to see the best out of his players. And these people who've been lifelong Pete guys have no idea what that looks like. Mm-hmm. And that might be why they're deciding, hey, I want to leave, because now we actually, we got a coach.
Especially because like Pete was a defensive guy, Mike's a defensive guy, so obviously he's going to focus. I'd assume his energy more focuses towards the defense. But that's the thing with Pete, is I felt like he was always pretty positive actually towards the offensive guys, because that wasn't his thing. To where obviously Mike McDonald saying things like, well, actually I lied, because Pete used to go, oh, we need to run the ball more. We need to run. I mean, honestly, how many times did we hear that? Pete was just so much more positive than Mike McDonald, and I feel like certain players like DK, not really Geno. I don't know. I could be wrong with Geno, but especially DK, I felt like DK probably had a lot more freedom under Pete than Mike.
I 100% agree. I just, especially like if you're a diva wide receiver playing under a coach whose mantra is like, I want you to be yourself, you're going to love it there. And which, like, if you thought Mike McDonald was tough, good luck playing for Mike Tomlin. Like, he tolerates, behind the scenes, no crap. And he does an excellent job at covering it up so nobody sees it. But he's a hard nose too. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like with this change, DK is going to be in for a rude awakening. And again, you go back to the Geno conversation. Like, if he's more comfortable playing under a player's coach and Pete, which I think like a guy like Geno needs, I'm happy for him. Like, I really am. And I want to see him succeed. it just leaves us in a bit of a spot because I don't think Sam Darnold with his deficiencies is the real answer. But we'll see.
Well, and I know we're kind of talking in circles here, and we have been this whole time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. It's just it's kind of a weird. It's kind of been a weird week, believe it or not, guys. It's unusual. I don't know. I feel like when Russ demanded a trade, I felt so much differently than these two. Because these two, even though DK, like, yeah, he's a diva, I still don't hate him. I still don't hate Geno for saying, "Oh, I want gone because you're not going to pay me." I I feel like I feel like both of them kind of wanted their money, and that's why they're gone. I feel
Yeah,
like it wasn't kind of they didn't really turn their back on the whole city like Russ did. And that's why I feel like I know we're playing the Steelers in Pittsburgh, but I feel like if we did see them here, you wouldn't get the boos like you did with Russell Wilson. I'm not saying you get a standing ovation or anything, but you're not going to get, I don't know. The DK is kind of actually, DK and Gino are such polarizing figures in this market. Um, but I don't know. You wouldn't get the boos like you did with Russ.
I
I
agree.
think both of them left a lot more. It was more classy than Russ and a lot less high profile.
So Brian says, I'd rather bring back Russ. Steelers don't need threesome drama players in the locker room. So Chad's a Steelers fan. And yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hearing from Steelers fans on this side of Seahawks coast to coast. I mean, I got a lot of friends who are Steelers fans living in PA, and yeah, you're not alone. Like, there are a lot of people that do not want Aaron Rodgers to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, and they'd rather. And this is the crazy part. Like, it seems like the Steelers right now are just waiting on Aaron Rodgers,
Which is weird. I don't.
and
Sorry.
and like Rodgers has his pick between the Giants and Steelers, I guess, and
Which is also weird that he has a pick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I agree. But like, if I'm Pittsburgh, I look at Russell Wilson and I go, we got DK Metcalf. The end of your year here last year was terrible in terms of gathering wins. Let's run it back and hope that the beginning of the year magic is there now that you have your guy. And DK's been very, very vocal about how much he loves Russell Wilson. And try. Like, I'm right there with you in terms of that makes more logical sense because, like, Russ knows the system. He knows this new wide receiver. Like, run it back and see what happens. And bringing in old cannot move Aaron Rodgers, and
that's why I
he
wanted it
knows
so
nothing.
bad for us. I wanted it so bad for another reason why I wanted us to sign Rodgers so bad. Not even so bad, just because I thought it'd be funny, is all these people on Twitter saying, I'd rather see the Seahawks win 4 games a season. No, you wouldn't. You know why? Because you've never seen them win 4 games. The last time they won 4 games was 2008. And I guarantee you guy on Twitter, you weren't watching the Seahawks in 2008. And it sucks. I'd rather win 9 games a year than 4 games a year. I mean, it is terrible watching the Seahawks. And really, I'm blessed too because I was born in 97. So 99, they made the playoffs. 2000 through 02, they didn't. But ever since then, I mean, 03 through 07, made it. Missed it 08 and 09, 10. I've seen this team be a contender my whole life. And that's not my fault. But I'll tell you what, the people that are saying you'd rather see them win 4 games like they did in 2008, you don't want to see them win 4 games. It sucks, guys. I hate the whole, we should actually just tank. No, it's actually terrible. And guess what? It never works. In the NFL, I mean, how many times have you seen tanking actually work?
Yeah, I mean, look how bad the Titans have been for as long as they've been bad. And I heard somebody on NFL Network say, who's the front runner for Archie Manning? And they're like, the Titans. I'm like, what? And it's because like when you are down there, that more than likely means you have an inept front office, and they are hard to replace. Like the good front office people don't just go on sale. Like good teams keep them, and it's really hard to dig yourself out of the hole. So
Well,
I
they don't
agree.
they don't let him go because remember when the Packers were trying to interview John Schneider, and I think that was Paul Allen still in charge, and he said no. He was like, "No, you don't have the right to interview our guy," which I don't think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
From Paul Allen. I want to say what's up to Sam Dog, the infamous 253. I think I've met you at a Seahawks game before, but yeah, I think he goes to every game too. So
Cool.
but yeah, draft prospects. Anybody you like? Tyler Warren. I'm hoping he falls there, dude.
He won't.
I guess this
but
new offensive coordinator Kubiak loves to use the tight end. I'd love to
does.
see that guy. And
I
you know
would
how I
too.
feel about Penn State. I hate Penn State. And I would
Well,
love to see that pasty white guy line up at tight end.
as somebody who watched every Tyler Warren snap this season, he is not going to fall to where Seattle is in the first round of this draft. As much as I would love it, if he does, they better get him. Because that dude's a game changer. Like he is.
You don't think he's gonna fall? I've seen some.
No.
I've been doing a lot of mock drafts. All right.
Watch out!
I'm pretty much an expert at this point. Check out this draft I had the other day. Now tell me if you wouldn't take this. All right, this was live. Okay, this went live on somebody else's channel. We used NFLDraftBuzz.com. Okay, so rounds 1 through 4, I got Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State. Second round pick, Donovan Jackson, tackle, Ohio State. Third round, Jake Majors, center, Texas. Third round, Dylan Fairchild, guard, Georgia. Fourth round, Malachi Moore, safety, Alabama. And I got Riley Leonard and Cam Scadaboo in the 4th round. What do you think about that?
I mean, a man can dream, I guess. But
I know. Looked pretty solid on my end.
What website's that? What were you using?
NFLDraftBuzz.com.
NFL Draft Buzz. All right.
Oh, that's weird. You can Google stuff while you're on stream with me. I can't, otherwise my stream crashes.
No, I'm using my phone. NFL Draft Buzz. Look at that. All right, cool beans. I will be playing with that later. And
it's an orange and black website, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Because we used a couple different ones. I think that's definitely the one.
So in terms of mock drafts, I am a bit confused because I do see a lot of pros going out there and drafting edge for Seattle in the first round, overwhelmingly so. And I think that's a mistake. As we've talked before, defense is this team's strength. And, I'm okay with on that side of the ball getting, lower in the draft talent and then seeing what happens. It's real clear. Like this team needs to figure out their offense.
No, the offensive line, I get it, especially between the tackles. And I think we both agreed on that, especially even right tackle is a question mark. But I don't think it's a mistake if you draft the next Aaron Donald, if you draft a defensive tackle. You know what I mean? So that's one thing to where I know they always say draft talent versus need, but really, if they find a Hall of Fame talent, I don't think anybody's complaining.
So one offensive lineman that I'm really zoning in on is Jared Wilson. He's 6'3", 310. he plays center, but no, in Seattle, you could probably move him around.
We'll probably play tight end by the time we're done with it.
Goodness. He's from Georgia, and I love watching him play because he's a really good like zone run blocker. I think he'd fit really well in this scheme, and they're mocking him like early mid two. So that could be like a higher end offensive lineman these guys wind up getting. If we're hoping for a Matt Flynn situation with Sam Darnold, this name I've been hearing more and more about in the last little while, and I don't really know a whole lot about his game, but there are like Louis Riddicks of the world who argue he's probably the most ready. His name is Tyler Sow out of Louisville.
I thought you were going to say Jackson Dart. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And like 6'5", 225, like big dude. He's one of the older prospects in the draft, but has a lot of playing experience. He's kind of like the Bo Nix of this draft, not quite to the Bo Nix extreme in terms of playing time, but I mean, he's up there.
In terms of losing big games.
And well, he played for Louisville, so he didn't play in too many big games. But
I had to show my dogs off, dude.
But like, if you're looking at a guy that you can snag later, you know, he's probably, you know, a bit of a sleeper pick that I don't think a lot of people would see coming. And really, like, I'm not. I really don't think I just don't think they're going to draft a quarterback anymore. And
I don't either.
It's a shame, but
no, I don't think it's a shame. I think this year sucks. I think if you were to take last year's talent and put him in this year's draft class, I think Cam Ward would be the 7th quarterback taken.
Yeah.
I mean, and Shedeur Sanders 8th. That's the thing. Is like a draft quarterback next year. We have a younger Band-Aid than we had before. I mean, really, people talk about Darnold being a Band-Aid quarterback. Geno was too, if we're being completely honest. And it's not a complete. I mean, worst case scenario, he absolutely sucks, and we get rid of him. But like we said with Aaron Rodgers, I think he has one more year left. I don't really think he has one more year left at all, but I think he's going to play one more year. You know, maybe we keep Darnold 2 years and we draft a guy next year. I just, the one thing I don't want to see them do is reach for Jackson Dart at number 18 or 19, wherever we are. I got a text from one of my friends. He goes, "You think we're going to draft Dart if he's there?" I go, "He better be there, and he better be there in the 2nd round too." You know, I'm tired. These teams reach for quarterbacks, and these teams suck because of it. You know, take a quarterback when he's available, not because you need him.
Yeah. I mean, he looked pretty decent at the pro day or at the combine. So
I get it, but do you know what I'm saying? He'd be the 9th quarterback. He'd be the 9th quarterback off the board if last year's class was in this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane to be saying people are like, oh, he's moving his way into the top 10. Well, that's what happened to Blaine Gabbert too. You know?
Yeah. And McNiner out here saying, have you watched Dart's tape? Like, I agree. Like, he's absolutely got some higher end talent. It's just, unfortunately, this team has sort of backed itself into a corner now. Like, if you would have gotten, let's just say the most extreme example would have been Justin Fields, and then you entertain guys like Joe Milton and, you know, whoever else might be floating out there ready for trade, you know, low end starters. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have been opposed to picking Jackson Dart or anybody else relatively high and just let them run their course and see what happens. But now with Sam Darnold, I mean, you have other needs. So I think that you've boxed yourself in with this draft where you can't really go and get quarterback talent, where the experts say they're going to go, even though I think we both agree, in terms of overall talent, they shouldn't be going there, but it's a quarterback driven league. So they're going to get their numbers bolstered and they're going to wind up going to desperate teams. And I think now with Sam, you're kind of just hoping and praying that he's enough. So it's, I don't like the signing, and I especially don't like what they've done after it in response to it. And it's really put them in a box in the draft where they're like, all right, I guess we need a wide receiver, tight end, and offensive line. And that's it.
I mean, other than, I think we can both agree, we kind of skipped past it. Ernest Jones, that was something that needed to happen. Signed for less than Nick Bolton did. And there was another, I don't even remember his name. He was a top 100 free agent. I think Ernest Jones was 34 and the other guy was 35. He's actually making less money than that other guy. And I sound like a dumbass because I don't even know who it is or what team he played for. But $11 million a year. I saw Pro Football Focus had him as the second most efficient tackler in the NFL behind none other than Bobby Wagner. I think he's a lot faster than Bobby is at now, personally. I mean, not personally. I mean, look at it. He's quite a bit younger too. But I think that was a big free agent signing that needed to happen. So, and then you have Knight making nothing next to him. I guess the last question would be, are the Seahawks better?
No.
Yeah, I agree.
They're worse. I mean, they're, as I said right now, they're objectively worse. And
okay, how would you feel if DK was still here? Would you feel like it's even a lateral move?
No.
No. I feel
because like what we talked about with Sam Darnold, like, yes, Geno Smith has red zone turnover issues. And like we complained about it last year, whatever. But at least he got you to the red zone. And with Sam Darnold and this 30th ranked offensive line, you're not getting to the red zone. And I'm sorry. We talked about the running game, how it suffered. You're not going to be able to run the ball. And Darnold will not be. I mean, look at what the other teams are doing just in the division in terms of defensive talent, trying to get after the quarterback. And what have we done to protect this now statue of a man? Nothing. And so you have identified one problem and have made it exceptionally worse because of this addition in Darnold and have done nothing to fix it. So you're worse.
Yeah.
You could have Megatron on the outside. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to get the ball to him. So
it doesn't matter. Just ask the Lions.
Yeah. truly. Like, the offensive line matters. And you're in an NFL age where like passing is king. Like, and I know this team's trying to make an effort to turn the pendulum the other way, but even then, you need offensive linemen to run the ball. And Stone Forsythe ain't going to do it. So,
he ain't back, dude. I'm surprised he wasn't there number one. I hope he's back. Like I said, I wish he would play left tackle at Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback, and then see people bitch about how we suck, even though they wanted us to tank. That's I can't stand the people on Twitter. I need to not go on Twitter, but it's just I'd rather win 4 games and get a high draft pick. Well, no, because that means everybody's getting fired, and the next guy probably won't make the right pick. Anyways,
So, what out there right now do you feel Seattle needs to do in order to get back to level? Back to, because I think we both agree.
where we were.
Yeah, I think we both agree we're taking a step back. What do we need to do to at least pull even to the talent of where we were last year?
Honestly, I think we could be better if we have a stellar draft. We need a stellar draft. We need it. This is probably, honest to God, this is probably the most important draft we've had since John Schneider took over. I think so. This team has such holes, especially in the offensive line. And now Jake Bobo's your number 2 wide receiver. Your team's probably not that good. And stacking talent in the defensive line. I mean, let's not act like our defensive backfield is all world. You have Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, who's been a shell of himself since he's switched from Tariq Woolen. Strange pattern with that. Julian Love's decent, but who plays strong safety? Is it Kobe Bryant, who did decent? Obviously, we cut Rayshon Jenkins. This team has so many holes that this has to be the most important draft since 2010, 11, and 12. And if you don't hit on it, then I think John's gone. And I think we fall back to not just being above average. I think we fall back to mediocrity, which we have not seen this since before Mike Holmgren was here. And we don't realize how spoiled we are to be Seahawks fans. I think that's something a lot of people forget, is how spoiled we are with a team that's really good from a region that doesn't necessarily care about sports, like Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, anywhere on the East Coast except New York, because they seem to care, but their teams always suck. So, sorry, I don't. That didn't answer your question at all. That just went on a tangent at all. That just went on a tangent, but I think getting into your offensive line help would definitely make this team maybe lateral of what it was last year.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think the chat's been pretty lively, so that's been nice tonight. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate all the chat here tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys. And scroll to the very top. I posted Zach's YouTube channel. If you could go ahead and follow him. He posts amazing stuff, especially during the season, right? Every Tuesday and Wednesday, or Wednesday and Thursday. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It changes all the time. So but now we're in the off season, so we're all just kind of waiting. So
yeah, he posts 7 days a week, daily updates. You guys should go follow him. him and Locked On Seahawks are pretty much like, or chat sports. I mean, whichever one, it posts every day, 10 times a day about nothing. That's what Zach is. So
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we'll see you guys. Zach, thank you. And thank you to the chat. And thank you to everybody who watched and is watching in the future. All right. Bye.